The currency. Kevin, Derek, thanks guys.
Hello, Consensus.
GM.
GM, dude, we did it. We got out of bed. We are here.
We got out of bed. We have arrived.
We have arrived. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. This has been a fun couple of days.
What have you been up to?
I would say just a lot of kind of just gatherings and meetups. Yesterday we did a little micro Moonbirds meetup where we went, had some drinks, got community members together. Gave a little talk yesterday with Bobby Hundreds, which was great.
I heard that was awesome.
It was a lot of fun, but it's just good to see all the energy here. Like it's insane.
It's packed. The people are here. The industry's moving forward. I see a lot of smiling faces, a lot of brilliant people, a lot of awesome conversations. It's energizing to come out to stuff like this.
Yeah.
Which has been great. And for those that are new to Kevin and me and what we do. This is 100 Proof. We host a podcast weekly. It's a roundtable. We interview folks in the industry. We talk about projects in the NFT space. Any other context?
Yeah, I would say that, we just cover all things NFTs, and even in the craziest of markets, like we like to just give you the real honest take, that real talk of what's going on, what's crazy, what's working, what's not. So we love doing this, and today we have a great show planned for everyone.
We do. We also have a secret guest backstage. We have 3 guests backstage. We got a secret guest backstage, so it's gonna be a fun one. And there's some news that's gonna be announced from different folks. So this one will be a little bit more action-packed than usual, I think.
Yeah, we were gonna talk also about what you've been up to with your latest projects.
Yes, so Glitch Gallery, some of you know who have been following along the story. Buddy of mine, Snowfro, who runs a project called Art Blocks, red-pilled me on this place called Marfa a few years ago. Ended up buying a gallery out there with my business partner, and we've been renovating it. We've been hosting events through it. We worked with the Art Blocks folks last weekend to do something in Marfa for the last Art Blocks weekend last November, I think it is. And we're launching a couple of exhibitions in May. And right after this, I'll be driving out to Marfa, spend some time out there. The first one is an exhibition where it's called an Invitation to Generative Art. We're highlighting 3 Art Blocks artists from Snowfro's private collection. Snow's going to come out there for, I think, a couple days. And it's all during Marfa Invitational, which is this awesome traditional art event that happens in Marfa annually. And the goal of that exhibition is really to start introducing a more traditional audience to what's happening around generative art and internet art and crypto art, and really start building those bridges that I think are important, I think other people think are important for traditional collectors, traditional art lovers to get what's going on here. And then the second exhibition is called Every 30 Days. I teased it last week, and that's launching on May 1st. This one is both a physical exhibition and a digital exhibition. It's a single object by a single artist, owned by a single collector, featured in real life and digitally. And we announced this morning that the artwork that we'll be showcasing for the first 30 days, it's called Every 30 Days, is X Copies Right Click and Save As Guy, which was created in 2018. And it's currently owned by Cosimo de Medici. So I've been working with him to kind of put on a storytelling experience over the next 30 days about why we believe that that is an important piece of art. And we'll be out there during Marfa Invitational allowing people to mint digital posters and learn a little bit more about crypto art and the history of crypto art. So that's Glitch, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, I love this. One of the things that you and I talk about a lot is that, in the world of NFTs, there's obviously a whole range of different types of projects, whether it be PFPs, one-of-one artists. And one of the things that we really try and focus on for the future of all things NFTs is this bridge building between traditional collectors and new digital collectors, and how can we bring more of those people into this world? Yes. So it's something that I love to see that you're doing this, especially during what is very much a more kind of traditional gathering.
Exactly.
So it's going to be great.
I think the principles here are once you get it, they're understandable, and I think it's really just about creating accessible experiences for folks to really grok and get and understand all the stuff that makes this space special, the reason why everyone's here right now. So I couldn't be more excited about Glitch, and that'll be happening on May 1st.
And for all of you, since we're in Texas now, ArtBlocks does an annual
It's the best.
little get-together that is in Marfa. Highly recommend checking that out if you can make the trek out there. If you're into generative art and you want to learn more about generative art, it is a fantastic little gathering to come out to. Do you have the dates, or do you have?
It is,
no,
yeah.
Snow can tell us. Oh, we haven't. That's our special guest for today.
Right.
I just ruined that one.
You blew it. All right, September 23rd is the day for ArtBlocks weekend. You should definitely get a hotel room right now. It's booking up quickly.
Airbnb is a good place to get.
Airbnb is the best place. Just keep refreshing, and it's going to be awesome. They're running multiple tracks, multiple buildings, multiple experiences this year. And I know the ArtBlocks crew is really doubling down on Marfa as a place to really provide an experience around what's happening around on-chain generative art. And it's going to be wild. It's going to be super fun.
Awesome. So with that, we have some guests to bring on stage. We have Justin from Mona, which is awesome. We'll talk a lot about that. Josie Bellini, which is a fantastic founder. And of course, Snowfro.
And Snowfro. Let's bring
please.
a round of applause. Let's bring those guys out. Snow's rocking the 90cc hat. Snow, we were going to, it was going to be a big reveal. Kev blew it.
I blew it, of course.
Oh no, what'd I miss?
I dropped the alpha that you were going to be on stage before you even came on stage. So it was micro alpha, nothing really that big.
Yeah, it's all good. Well, I think what would be fun to kind of kick off the show for everyone is to maybe just give a quick intro on who you guys are. You three in particular are building some of the coolest stuff in Web3 across a number of different industries and verticals, but they're all kind of converging together in some meaningful way. So maybe just a couple lines about who you are and the projects that you're all working on.
I'll kick it off. I'm Justin Melillo, co-founder, CEO of Mona, and we're building the leading 3D world building platform for social immersive digital experiences.
I'm Josie Bellini. I've been a crypto artist since 2017, and last year launched CyberBrokers, which is a media and entertainment company focused on the metaverse.
Hi, my name is Erick Calderon. I'm a NFT digital art collector since 2017. Founded a project called ArtBlocks and created an artwork called the Chromie Squiggle.
We like the Chromie Squiggle on this show.
Any Chromie Squiggle holders out there in the audience?
Raise your hand.
Oh my
Let's
God,
go.
How many want to be Chromie Squiggle holders out there? Oh,
That's
we
the
got
right
some free
answer.
mints left. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Talk about that. What is that alien, man? Tell me about that alien again.
That's right. Awesome. So I noticed you didn't say metaverse in your pitch here. Tell people exactly what you're building. Is that a dirty word for you now, or is that a kind of it's not dirty, but a tainted word a little bit?
Yeah. That's a great pickup there, Kevin. Yeah, I mean, I think metaverse is kind of getting really overused, overplayed, kind of a blanket marketing term that's turned into a lot of jargon that people just sort of, I think people don't really understand what it really is. And so for what we're doing at Mona now, we're sort of trying to reposition that idea. And really for us, the focus is on the quality of an immersive experience. And so we're trying to veer away from that sort of marketing terminology and go towards something that's a little bit more creator and user-centric.
So real quick, just so people know, the 30-second kind of elevator pitch on what Mona is, what you've created to date. Tell us, what have you built? What are your engineers working on? How is this different than, say, anything like Yuga's building, or why is this unique compared to all the other metaverses that are out there?
Yeah, so we have such an amazing team of some of the most brilliant engineers, designers from companies like Unity, Magic Leap, Ubisoft. And really what we're building is meant to be that sort of infrastructure layer for the highest quality immersive experiences that are all accessible through the web browser. and can really be that sort of future of interaction for communities, for people. It's not just about gaming. For us, really, it's about the quality of the experience. And it can be a social digital installation. It can be a game. Really, what we have are the building blocks for anyone to be able to jump in, create the highest quality 3D assets, tokenize them so they can be authenticated on Ethereum or Polygon, and then they can be used through our app, which is the highest fidelity, immersive sort of MMO that you can get that's all accessible in the web browser, so you don't need to download anything. And what's great is that these assets, they're all decentralized. You can bring them across any platform, any game engine.
Yeah, the thing that really struck me the first time that we spoke, Justin, was it was a different approach to building, let's just call it like this visual abstraction for immersive environments. And it, like philosophically, like I think about why the internet is valuable. It's because there wasn't these constraints that people had to build within. You didn't have like height restrictions or space restrictions, or you had to use this font. You could create whatever you wanted in browser, and those experiences that were the best or the most interesting would rise to the top. And it was a very much like a credibly neutral way by which the best Web 2 products, Web 1 products surfaced to become used by tens of millions of people. And I think so much of what the early immersive environment space has been kind of shoehorning in parcels or shoehorning in tech stacks or shoehorning in like restrictions on where you can build or how high you can build or what engine to use. And the approach that you've taken is one where you don't really care. Like creators are unthrottled and only restrained by their own creativity. They can build whatever they want in whatever tech stack they want and bring it into this space that's stitched together by digital ownership.
Yeah, to be clear, there's no land sale, there's no sort of purchase that's needed for a creator or user. It's totally free and accessible for anyone to launch their own immersive experience in the web. We made that decision early on to go away from what I think everyone kind of thought of the metaverse, which is like buying a parcel of land and then having a very limited set of rules that you had to build within in order to use it. And we wanted to just kind of blow all that away and just make it about the creator and the user.
Yeah.
I think over the last probably year, you've heard me be very skeptical about the metaverse.
Kevin's in my ear all the time about his
I'm a little bit
skepticism for the metaverse.
No, but the reason being is that I see these moments when people say, let's go to the Xcopy metaverse, and a bunch of people get together, and it's fun. Everyone has fun. Xcopy's hanging out. Like you feel like you're connected in the same room. And then you go there the next morning at 9 a.m. and it's like just crickets, right? And so it's very much around these like time-bounded like events that happen, but there doesn't seem to be this persistent reason to spend time in these environments outside of, which I would consider just to be games, which are the original metaverse, So, I'm curious when you think about how this plays out over the next couple of years, do you have use cases that you believe will be more durable and long-lasting than, say, just events?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is kind of what you just described is like, we're seeing a lot of those larger number of users, people spending more and more time. It's because of the community that's there. And so that's why we've really taken this focus on helping to support a lot of really amazing projects, some of the best projects in Web3 to start, who have really active communities. And we're sort of seeing that, I think that core use case as this evolves is sort of that next evolution of how people use and consider Discord. It's a more immersive way for you to feel like you have this presence with others who are all around the world connected with things like spatial voice chat, with live streaming functionality. You can pull in a ping pong table and start playing a game in the middle of a space if you want. I think these are sort of persistent, immersive destinations that people can come to and hang out with friends.
Yes. Yeah, so I think I do want to get to your guys' take on the metaverse as well, but briefly, sticking to our plan on Rundown, I want to talk about just my own personal work with you on this stuff. At Moonbirds, one of the things that we've always said is that we want it to be, this new focus on art and collecting art, which I think is awesome. Did an awesome generative drop with Snowfro recently on a collaboration, which was great. So we love that, but we also want to have fun at the same time, and we want to have new ways to get out of Discord, because Discord can be very toxic at times. And so how can we get out of Discord? How can we create an environment that is a little bit more, changes up the social dynamics a bit, puts the focus on, art, and which is what we really want to display in anything that we build, and then have a place for people to come together, maybe to vote on DAO proposals in real time, to have audio conversations around that, just to break up that chatter that is the chaos of Discord. So that said, we've been spending the last few months working with you on a Moonbirds little mini world, and we'd like to show a little clip of that now if we could. Give you a little sample of what this is going to look like. So this is a very stylized look. Can you explain kind of what we were going for here with the look and feel?
Yeah, so working with your amazing team of visionary artists, I think it was really exciting from the first conversation we had. It was really your objective of creating this destination that is very special, very highly art directed in this really, really high level creative style. It feels like one of the highest quality immersive experiences destinations that's going to be available. And yeah, I mean, working with your team has just been such a joy. You've had such a very clear direction for style and where you wanted to take this. And we were just able to execute that sort of 3D vision of that. And I think the result is something that rivals some AAA games, honestly.
The cool thing about this, though, is we purposely created some hangout spots so we could have large gatherings of people. You support real-time streaming into these environments as well. So we can stream episodes of podcasts. We can stream Grails releases. We can put artwork up. We can do little hidden treasure hunts for mints. There's a lot of fun. But the cool thing about this is it's interoperable. So what we haven't shown you yet is what the Moonbirds are going to look like in this world. But when that happens, if you two were to build worlds, we could all start traversing and moving between these worlds and having a shared experience around art and have our communities connect in very unique ways. So would love to talk about what you all are doing and working on as well.
Yeah, we already have an area in Monaverse. We've already been working together, and it's been incredible. We recently launched Mechs within our CyberBrokers universe, which is just huge giant robots that our community have been able to put together themselves. There's over 17 billion combinations that people can mix and match and color, and on day one, we spit out all of the different types of 3D files, VRM, FBX, GLB, and they're able to go into Monaverse immediately. And that power to not just allow someone to collect, but allow them to live as their own avatar, as their own asset, create content around it, go visit your world, go visit all of these places, actually even collect in their own avatar, clicking on NFTs in world and buying there. It gives them this different experience with their assets where they really feel like they're embodying just what they've shown as a PFP on their Twitter profile. They're really embodying that character.
Look at this here.
Is this a mech build right now that we're looking at?
Yeah, so this is our site, and this is people mixing and matching and building their mech. And we've built a pipeline where the moment you submit that mech, you get all the files and you can run around in these worlds. This is a really cool couple spots in Mona, and you can eventually play games.
God, it looks amazing.
And do all the things. So
let's talk a little bit about CyberBrokers and I guess what Mona may unlock for the story, the lore, the experience that you're really trying to scope to your audience. How do you think about what the next few years of CyberBrokers looks like, the storytelling you want to do, and how these immersive environments and mechs and these files will empower some of those experiences in a more meaningful way?
Oh, in so many ways. I mean, for me, the metaverse is and I think, Justin, we agree, is a lot more than just a virtual world. Like, it is the experience layer of the internet. So it's when people are using AR, we've done some really cool AR things together, AR, VR, 3D spaces, when they're really like connecting and having these like emotional experiences or immersive experiences on the internet. So this is a way, I mean, we're doing 3D assets, pixel assets, so they can bring their characters anywhere.
Yeah.
They can create themselves for the people who are creative. They can license their characters to someone else. So they can bring their own stories to life, but also within our own IP and our story. He's just doing a hilarious dance. Within our own IP and story, we're writing stories around these characters. People are doing auditions to audition to be in our story with the characters they've created. So you really can become the hero of not only your own story, but actual canon, like actually written into our chapters.
Yeah.
So it's been a playground for everyone, and they've been enjoying it.
What's so much fun here is, this was by accident, but I was wearing a Moonbird body and entered into your world, and my Moonbird's in your world, and I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't be showing this off in here. But that's so cool, right? Because like, someone can put one of these mechs on and just take it into any other world, and like, we went with a very low poly, kind of like, Zelda type vibe with our environment. And here, this is like insanely beautiful, futuristic, high fidelity quality that you've gone with, and that shows the flexibility of the world and what it can provide, which is awesome.
I want to just touch on this because it's such an important point. Erick said this in his presentation yesterday, but during these like turbulent times, these macro headwinds, I think what sometimes gets lost is the fact that what has been achieved here from a technology perspective is we now have this public trust minimized database of record where we can actually prove digital ownership. And the interoperability that you're talking about of like being able to own a Moonbird, go into a CyberBroker space, interact with other people who own other things, other objects, that isn't possible without this technology. And Snowfro eloquently brought this up on his panel, and let's turn to you because you have been, Erick, as someone who's been involved with this space for a very long time, someone who has been playing around in these immersive environments for just about as long as anyone. I mean, you were messing around in voxels very early.
You were a landowner, right?
You're
like
a land baron in many of these metaverses. So, why don't you talk a little bit about the evolution of this category, how you've thought about it over time, and kind of where you're at today?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I remember entering CryptoVoxels. I also participated in Decentraland a long time before that, but entering CryptoVoxels and thinking, okay, this is a very curated, limited thing, but I was really excited about it. I love the bare bones aesthetic of it. What I found myself being interested in is creating something that you couldn't do in real life. Because like, if you can do it in real life, then we can just do it in real life. And I would like to interact with human beings, and I'm a social person. And so if it's possible to achieve this in real life, then I would much rather spend my time doing that. And I found that a lot of the metaverse building was recreating real life in the digital space. And pre-pandemic, it didn't make as much sense. During the pandemic, it made a little bit more sense. Like, we weren't allowed to be around each other, and so there was like that extra drive. But even going back to like 2018 CryptoVoxels plots where, I created an API where you would press a button and it would send a server instructions to generate a new output of an algorithm, send it back into CryptoVoxels to create these massive screens that like changed on demand and would layer on top of each other.
It's awesome.
Like the idea that like I can't actually go into a museum, even if a museum wanted to show this thing, like you can't just unroll an instantly generated artwork that's 10 feet tall in real life. So it was just exploring like what are the things that you can do that you cannot do in real life. And I went down that rabbit hole, and I went really deep in that rabbit hole, and I really appreciate it. But the limitation is twofold. A, time, as is for everybody, and then also just technical understanding and expertise. And CryptoVoxels obviously provided a space for you to be able to build by clicking, but it always left me wanting more. And so this ability to just blow the top off and literally be able to do anything is just so intriguing, so exciting. And also, working with really great humans is very intriguing to me and something I very much enjoy doing. And like, getting to work with Justin is it's like a dream. Where this is kind of going, I guess the reason I'm on this panel is, the original Chromie Squiggle was actually made in 3JS, which is a 3D modeling library. And it was originally 3D. And the original Chromie Squiggle was a graphic that you could spin, and you would be able to see it in 3D. That was then translated into processing, and then it was translated into P5JS, which is what was eventually launched on ArtBlocks. But the original thing was always in 3D, and I've always talked about how it was originally in 3D. And a few months ago, I was approached by these fine gentlemen. I was like, well, what would it look like to put a Chromie Squiggle in 3D? And I was like, well, it already exists. Like, the code already exists. It had to be completely refactored from scratch, thanks to Justin and his team. But there's this thing that I find very interesting about the metaverse, or this like instant world of something that you can't do in real life, which is the way that ArtBlocks generates code. Even if you're looking at a Chromie Squiggle and it's static, it is actually generating the code for that Chromie Squiggle, and you're watching it. Even if it's static, you're actually watching the code generated, not a static image. And that same can be imported into a virtual world without having to have all the assets. So what I got excited about when I was approached for this opportunity to get to create the Squiggleverse, I think.
Is that the official name, the Squiggleverse?
I don't know.
It's the unofficial official name. Code name Squiggleverse.
I hope you own that .xyz, because if not, people are registering it right now.
Thanks, Kevin.
Sorry. Save it for him.
Dan, I see you out there.
Get on your phone quick.
But I think something that was fascinating to me was this idea that original algorithm for the Squiggle was created in 3JS, which is a library that runs in your browser, the whole premise of ArtBlocks in general. And you can essentially rerun that algorithm without, like, Monaverse can generate, once we complete this, every single one of the 10,000 Chromie Squiggles without having a database of 10,000 Squiggles in 3D files. It literally can generate it on demand. And so through API interfaces, the metaverse can call Squiggle number XYZ, and in the browser, it's generating that object in 3D and putting it into your world. And something about that and how that aligns with the concept of ArtBlocks in general, with on-demand generative minting and just things being minted and in the browser directly, and not having to like import a file or go through is something I find incredibly fascinating. Then where you take it from there, whether it's like a little squiggle that follows you around as a pet, or whether you are a squiggle avatar, or something that I think would be really incredible, and we've been talking about the idea that you would take a bold squiggle and put it on its side and submerge it so half of it is above the horizon, and that becomes a building that you can walk around in and put your art inside of. Like, all of the things that we can do once the squiggle is not necessarily a 3D object, but this thing that can instantly be brought into a space, feels pretty limitless. It also feels like open for the world to tinker and to have fun with. And I think that's the most important thing for me. It's just having fun, giving the people that own a squiggle the ability to do something cool with it. Like, yeah.
This is what's so fun about this, is because you could take that turn sideways like gallery of a massive squiggle, and you could bring it into your world, right? Like that. There's nothing preventing that from happening due to there's no technology limitations here, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, you could be a mech running inside of a Squiggle world.
Grail's artwork.
With
up
Grail's artwork,
exactly.
with Moonbirds. Moonbirds can have Squiggle pets inside of the Moonbirds world. The possibilities
can
are...
Squiggles be pets? Do you want them to be pets?
I'll go with that, unless you eat them.
We talked about this beforehand, where we said, okay, if a Moonbird eats a Squiggle, it could inherit the trait colors of said squiggle.
Which could be done, man. You guys are on chain. I mean, like, literally the algorithm exists.
I think your floor price is higher than ours now. Maybe you'll eat us and grow wings or something. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out later.
This is awesome. I guess like two things I want to say. The first is just how astounding it is to me that you're taking some of the principles of procedural, on-demand, generative art in this 2D abstraction and using the same principles to do the exact same thing in 3D. You said it, but like I just want to reinforce how cool that is, right? Like you're containing the exact same process that has made the art block system relied upon by 50, 60,000 collectors around the world, hundreds of artists, and you're bringing that concept now into these 3D browser-based environments, without diminishing any of the integrity of how these things are created. I just think that is so cool. The thing that I actually want to ask is, where do we go from here? Because I'm seeing limitless potential, but you guys are the big brains that have to think through these next few years and how to tranche out these builds and what it can unlock for your communities and for collectors and for artists that want to reconfigure some of the work and point it in new directions. I'd love to hear from just all of you. What does this unlock? Where are we going? What does the immersive metaverse environment look like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? Kevin, you want to go first because you love the metaverse so much?
I do love the metaverse. I think for me, especially working with Mona, is that we said, okay, let's tightly bound a V1 of this and get something out there where people can have fun. They can explore art, they can run around, they can have audio conversations. We can broadcast video and do live, little events inside of this world. We could potentially do little treasure hunt type stuff for open edition mints and fun things like that. But then at that point, I really want to rely on the community and have the community step in and say, hey, we like this, we didn't like this, we want to take this further. They can put together a proposal for us, they can submit it. We have a whole framework now for DAO related things. And they can take it in any direction they want. So we had talked about this before, if the community says we want 10,000 parcels of our own land in a way that we can build like Roblox, you can do that, right? But that's not something that I want to force on people. I want it to come naturally from our own internal community saying, I want to champion this and move it forward. And so, but aside from that, what I'm most excited about is what you're witnessing right now is a bunch of art projects coming together and saying, we can all play and we can move and traverse between each other's environments and form stronger relationships between communities and celebrate each other's art in a way that doesn't require me to install another application. It doesn't require me to even think. I just can automatically move into that new world. And that seamless transition, I think, is going to be pretty powerful.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said, that you really want this to be community driven, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I think the next 5, 10, 20 years, I think, yes, the tech is there, the possibilities are endless, but ultimately it should be up to the participants and the users, who are going to be, who are the collectors and owners of these fantastic works of art, who are going to be able to jump into these worlds and explore together. I just have to say, it's really, it's an honor to be able to work with all these amazing individuals and, trying to bring these communities together. I think there's so many powerful things that can be done. And, looking ahead to the future of this, I think, yes, you can have all these amazing interactions that blend seamlessly with each other. But, Josie, you said this earlier, and we agree on this. This is really the future of the internet. It's immersive. And it's powered by that human connection. So, yeah, that's what we're most excited by. And you sort of touched on this too, Kevin. I think AI is going to play a huge part in this, in assisting creators in generating more artwork, more immersive experiences. But that is going to be something to look forward to on the Mona platform as well.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that point too. We're already experimenting with a lot of things with AI, and you're going to be able to train your own AI to create squiggle worlds, to create all of these things, and hand that over to the users and have them create themselves and put up their worlds in Mona, which I think is going to be incredible to have the text to image, image to 3D, 3D straight into world. And I think it's going to be very, very powerful, but also in the age of AI where you can create anything at the stroke of your keyboard, community becomes so important, and brand and curation becomes so important. And fostering those relationships, all connecting with each other, is going to be a key thing to champion bringing everyone forward together in a thoughtful way and not just letting everyone run wild. Because in some ways, when we're talking about crypto voxels, when I first came into crypto voxels, there was empty land and nothing built, right? And there was no color, it was black and white. So like, I do think that we can't hand over everything to the community. We need to do some of that like foundation and building, but the community is obviously so important for where we're headed.
I think the last thing I'd like to add, which ties a little bit into a presentation I said yesterday about kind of the concept of creator royalties enhancing the value proposition for not just the artist and the creator, but for the entire ecosystem. Like, at least from what I understand from the people on this stage, there is continued value being built for the things that we have already built, that we already see participation in. And there is an incentive to do that for so many different reasons, but one of them is just to give people opportunities to do something with the thing that they already have. And being able to build into this thing, I mean, maybe you're not into the metaverse, so if you have a squiggle and you don't care about the metaverse, that's fine, right? But this is one thing, and this is one thing that I personally feel very excited that is not another thing that I'm going to sell, and another thing that anybody's going to pay a single penny for, at least for now, and because who knows what comes from this in the future, but like, it feels very relieving, especially in this current economic space, that there's nothing for sale here. This is just like in a bit like something that we are proud of, that we want to share with the people that like care about the things that we're building. And I don't think you see a lot of that right now in the ecosystem. And I think this is a way for us as creators to demonstrate additional value for in gratitude for the support that we've had. So it feels good to be able to do that.
Erick, I have a question for you. You know, it should come as no surprise to anyone here. You're obviously the thought leader when it comes to generative everything. And one of the things that you and I have talked about both on podcast form and privately is this idea that you really like, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but it feels like you're excited about exploring generative physical things as well, like physical spaces. Like you have 100 untitled spaces, a drop that you did. How do you see, and do you see that being used in a metaverse-like environment? Does that excite you in some ways? Like you might be able to write a script that goes and builds structures, different types of lands, all via in a generative way?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things before we decided to go the Squiggle route was an option of potentially going down the 100 untitled spaces route. And the idea, a little bit of what Derek touched on, what I touched on earlier, that like what we do with Mona, so the Squiggle code is like 30 lines of code, and like the 3D Squiggle code is going to be like 80 lines of code. But like all 10,000 squiggles will be interpreted as a squiggle that is exactly like the one that matches it in 2D using the same 80 lines of code. Like the amount of space that this takes within the world is 80 lines of code to be able to achieve that. And the ability to do that architecturally, which is this concept of 100 untitled spaces, would be the same. You have 100 untitled spaces, all 100 of them were generated from the same 100 lines of code. And the ability to integrate 100 lines of code into an environment like Mona and create an actual space that you can walk into, I hope inspires people to want to create things along those lines. Like generative housing sounds nuts. I've been researching like physical 3D printers for many, many years. Like for $100,000, you can get a machine that will print you a 20 foot by 20 foot by 20 foot by 10 foot object, right? Like that's a lot of money, but it's like millions of dollars less than it would have cost 10 years ago to be able to like 3D print an object of that scale. And I think consumer technology becomes more and more and more accessible. And in the meantime, that same concept can be applied in the metaverse, but with zero friction. A lot of the things that I talk about these days is this concept of 1 of 1 of X. Well, the least friction use case of 1 of 1 of X is in the digital world. Your screen doesn't care whether that pixel is yellow or red. In the physical world, it adds all sorts of friction and complications. The ability to really be able to explore and lean into generative housing, where some people look at me like a lunatic when I say generative housing with 3D printed structures, but then you take the ability to create a 3D printed, like a generative house, or a generative structure, or a generative pavilion in a 3D space with the click of a button with 100 lines of code. I just think there's like something really exciting there. Like you're gonna be minting in the future, hopefully artists will be generating 3D things that the drop is gonna be, you go buy this thing, you click on-demand generative mint, and it just appears in Monaverse as the thing that you bought. And of course you wanna also look at it on a website, so it's rotating in 3D. Like there's something really exciting about generative housing to me, as like crazy as that sounds. And this is going to make it accessible 10 to 15 years before I actually think in the future we will be potentially living in art, sculptural generative housing. And maybe not too far in the future if Kevin's plans.
A little project,
proceed.
a little Marfa project, yeah. Awesome.
This is great. I mean, we covered a lot of ground. I think we're running out of time here. I guess like any closing thoughts on stuff that you're working on that you want folks to know about? Anything that you're excited about while you're still here in Austin? Why don't we just do a quick around the horn on final notes before we close this one out?
Yeah, and also just how can people experience these different worlds? Like which ones, like Squiggleverse is not yet launched. It's in private beta. Any timelines for, I know your world is obviously out there and people can jump in right now. Ours is going to be, a link's going to go out today. I think today. Maybe.
I think, yeah, maybe, yeah.
All right, soon. But yeah, so the final thoughts and then also how people can get involved.
Definitely. So to get involved, check out our website, monaverse.com. We're on Twitter at Monaverse. You can experience the amazing CyberBrokers world and try on all of we have 50 mechs in there, right? Although
it's so fun. They're all lined up and you can just basically go and put anyone on. It's awesome.
It's amazing. Although I do know, Josie has said there's like 17 billion combinations. But yeah, so definitely check out the CyberBrokers world. We'll be releasing the Moonbirds world soon. We're really, really excited to also be launching the Squiggleverse soon, TM. But we're really excited for all these projects and bringing these really amazing creators and communities together. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Definitely go to cyberbrokers.com and check out the mech sandbox so you can try on all of the different things. But I would just encourage everyone who's like done this or not, jump in there and go experience it by yourself or with other people. And if you haven't done it before, like there's this feeling, at least I got, of just excitement and possibility and all of these things that you get when you're in these different worlds and really experiencing yourself in this virtual way. So just go try it out.
The last thing I'll add is something, I don't know how much overlap there is today between the people I got to speak to yesterday, but no matter what's going on out there, like the value proposition of provable ownership of a digital asset has not changed when the market's going up and the market's going down, and like Twitter is like a depressing place or Twitter is like a really happy place. Like the value proposition has not changed. It's empowering all of the things that you're seeing on stage, and there's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times, but like if you can find a little bit of joy in understanding that you guys are operating in what I consider to be like a revolutionary technology that's going to change a lot of things in our lives, the things that are spoken on the stage here are little delightful things that you can interact with and operate on with zero concern about what is currently happening in the market. And I think it's healthy. I think it's really healthy for us to have opportunities to engage with each other, not looking at the charts. And so take advantage of that. Like this is what we're here to do. And just think about the opportunity and how the value proposition has not changed, and it immutably cannot change moving forward.
Well said.
Well said. Round of applause for these folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.